Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment video. I'm the man here, Wood. Get into a little bit of bite down boxing talk. Quick entertainment note. One, well, two of them actually. Hopefully, if you like R&B music, hopefully you checked out that BJ the Chicago Kid that came out. I believe it was Friday. 1123 is the name of the project. I think it's 15, 16 songs on there. Very enjoyable project. I like it a lot. I don't know if it's better than On My Mind, which was out 2 or 3 years ago, his last full-length project. But definitely some good material on here. I think that JID kid from Dreamville is on there. Quavos, Rick Ross. If you need those types of things to get into your R&B music, it's a really well dressed out album in terms of different types of songs. A couple slow songs, some fast songs, faster songs. Maybe only one or two clubbish type songs, but like I said, if you like All in My Mind, I think you'll definitely like this. If you're a BJ, the Chicago Kid fan, you definitely dig this project. Feel free in the comments to let me know, what songs you like. Also, I saw later on, I believe today, the video for Raheem Devon's Just Right off of his latest album that's been out about a month now. The Love Reunion, I believe is what the album is called. Another pretty dope album. But his single was Just Right, and it's a video that comes out. The video is supposed to be out today, so check for that if you like R&B music. Last entertainment note, I get around to some movies very late. Obviously, on Friday and Saturday night, I'm usually watching boxing. And then, me and the movie theaters have been struggling the last couple of years with projects that I really like. But I missed Widows when it came out, but I had the chance to check out Widows last night with Viola Davis. Good movie. Real solid. What's my man? Brian Tyree Henry from Atlanta that plays I don't even know my man's name on there. I don't watch it. I didn't watch the second season of Atlanta. But Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out and Sicario is on there. He's in it. Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious franchise. And then Liam Neeson. But a pretty dope movie. Oh, and then Colin Farrell too. So super cast. And some pretty like I said, I don't know if it's a good movie, and it's 2 hours long. So what I really like about it is it takes its time to flesh out the entire story and lead up to the ladies that have to pull off the heist because their husbands were killed stealing some money from the Tyree Henry character, who is kind of the head of a street organization who happens to be running for an alderman seat in the city of Chicago, is based in Chicago. And actually Viola Davis's husband was Liam Neeson. And he's, out pulling moves and whatnot to earn. And he leads his 4-man crew. The other cat, the Punisher, is in there too. John, I can't think of John's last name. But they all get killed in this, trying to steal this $2 million from the crew. And the crew comes back and tells Viola Davis that you owe us that money since it burned up in the vehicle that they were trying to escape in. So pretty solid movie. I would really recommend it if you got time, to check that out. Getting into some of this boxing talk, really first, damn good fight, and most of us knew that it would be a good fight between Jose Carlos Ramirez and Mo Hooker down in Arlington, Texas, on the Zone. I have to be honest, the card was a little weak, and I think it lost a lot of steam when Murat Gassiev had to pull out with his injury, and all of the popularity and the relevance that Joey DeVecco coming into the from the training camp rumors with Anthony Joshua. He laid an egg, in my opinion, in the fight with Rusty Hernandez. Is it Rusty Hernandez? Or Rocky Hernandez. It wasn't a memorable fight, but I think it was Rusty Hernandez, which I don't know how he won as wide as he did. But anyway, just sticking with the main. Oh, and then Tremaine Williams is a good young fighter who beat Vicente. That was a pretty decent fight. Pretty good showing for him. I like to see more of him out of New Haven, Connecticut, I believe. But getting into the main event, real quick. Well, let's talk through the fight. It was about how I expected it to go. I think I mentioned it on the podcast. That's on another video on the channel. That's where the Bite Down Boxing podcast will now be exclusively listed as here at the Pay Me No Mind YouTube channel. But I did. That's kind of how it played out exactly the way that I predicted it. I think Ramirez's offense is more consistent. He's in my opinion, he has a very educated offense. I just didn't know that the power was there in that manner, and I didn't know how he would deal with facing another world champion with 8 inches of reach, and I didn't know how his consistent output would match up against Mo Hooker, where I thought, probably had the power advantage. Mo was doing some good things, some check hooks, working well with the jabs at time, varying up, the type of jab he was throwing. He was dropping that right hand in on him, landing some good left hooks, decent body work here and there. But that first round knockdown, I believe, was the first or second round knockdown when his foot got stepped on. That was unfortunate that the referee didn't catch that. Based on the fact that the men weren't, in the pocket with one another, it seemed like it was enough. It wasn't a confusion of bodies and everything. It was pretty, there was some distance between them, and the guy just missed it. The referee just missed it. Didn't really seem to panic Maurice Hooker whatsoever. But I think mainly it was a 5th round TKO. But in that 3rd and 4th round, I want to say when Mo Hooker started allowing himself to be bullied into the ropes, and somewhat trapped there and outworked there, even though he was defensive, I thought his defense on the ropes was really slick. I didn't know he had some of that in him. But I felt like it allowed Ramirez to impose his will, to gain some confidence, and to start that. Once that confidence starts going, and you believe that you're the better man in there, I just felt like that's where all the problems started for Maurice Hooker, and it seemed like he was willing to concede at times and give ground. And while he wanted to rest, Ramirez was still working. And while he was able to do it, I think maybe in the 3rd round he was able to do that more so successfully. But in the 4th round, you started seeing that it was the pressure and the inside fighting was getting to him. And then when we get into that 5th round, just what a phenomenal eruption, to go get it. Seeing the opening, probably looking at Maurice Hooker's body language a little bit, knowing that he's trying to get the fight and go some distance and whatnot. And because Hooker mentioned the stoppage in the later rounds. So it didn't seem like his sense of urgency was there. And he hit him with that left hook. He went staggering back a little bit as he planted that right foot to kind of come, to settle. And he gave a little bit. The legs were wobbly. And then Jose Ramirez just charged in with the follow-up shots and the finishing stuff and got him out of there. Pretty good stoppage by the referee. I know right now, we're all in a frenzy on heightened sense of responsibility and whatnot. not a bad stoppage, honestly. And Maurice-Hooker came back and said as much, that he was glad that the referee acted in the manner that he did. I think that was Mark Nelson. Really quickly, I'm running out of time. Well, let me stay there. I thought the Zone did a pretty decent job, in particular with Chris Mannix, asking Eddie Hearn some questions about the Dillian White Oscar Rivas situation from last week. And I think I'm not trying to back down or change my energy, quote unquote, or kind of vacillate on my stance from Friday with the Sirius XM boxing interview of Eddie Hearn, where they didn't ask him tough questions at all. But I thought that Chris Mannix did a good job in asking what most of us Americans would want to know, who may not be familiar with the situation and how the procedure over there, the process. And I think what was also what got Americans off, and this came from talking to a commenter on my video from Friday evening. UKAD and UK anti-doping, they made it like they turned the decision back to the boxing scene piece. I think led some of us to believe that the BBBoC, the British Boxing Board of Control, metes out punishment, and they don't. I went over to UKAD's site, read around quite a bit, and got a better understanding of that organization. They do handle suspensions and enforcement. So when the BBBoC came back and said, well, our decision to let the fight proceed was in line with UKAD's decision, UKAD had cleared, Dillian White to fight. And that's who's, has responsibility and authority on, anti-doping matters and testing and whatnot. And then that national anti-doping panel. So in many regards, Eddie Hearn was kind of correct in that we had the test. There was a hearing. I don't agree with his stance that why should we go and alert Rivas when it ended up being nothing and he was cleared to fight. I think I had a call right there. I think what the issue is for most of us Americans, and the fact that this is boxing, is that there needs to be some transparency. The expectation would be that there's some transparency to the opposing team, and that somebody from there needs to be a representative inside the room, because that transparency just needs to be there. I mean, how can something happen behind closed doors? If you're worried about the information, the information is what the information is. If the test was minuscule or minute or ultra small, traces of whatever, if it was nothing, then it's nothing. And you can explain that to people, and that should be explained to the opposing camp. It's within whatever we found is within this range or whatever, and this range makes it acceptable. And then whatever information that they presented in that hearing, then you go from there. But to sit there and for it to be one-sided, I just don't think that's acceptable. If I'm a fighter, I don't care if it's an independent board or, the UKAD is what it is. I want somebody in the room to make sure that and then being someone that's being a Canadian, a foreigner, not being your homeland, I need somebody on my team in there that has my best interest in mind to listen, to be present, and to hear everything that's going on. I think that's just how we view it in America. But anyway, according to their processes, Eddie Hearn did what he thought but again, I think this may have even been asked. If he's sending Anthony Joshua in there to fight, he would want to know. He would want to know if there was anything, and he would want to be present, or he would want someone to be in his place to make sure that everything was on the up and up according to his standards. So in a way, it seems like now, and then we got we actually got the substances from boxing scene. And now it seems like some of the information that's coming out is that information may or may not be as legit as we thought it would be. So, Dillian White's winning, retained an attorney and whatnot, and they're working through it, and there's supposed to be a lawsuit or whatever, possible lawsuit for boxing scene. It seems like it's a lot to come from that. But again, according to how their processes are set up over there, and then also you got to think that they paid for VADA, and somehow UKAD picked this up, but VADA, who was administering tests over a 12-week period, they never caught anything. So it seems like it's a rush to judgment, but there was information out here. We did have this article from Thomas Hauser, who informed a lot of us what was going on. There was a confirmation. Eddie Hearn did confirm that there was a hearing. And we all have to go from there. But again, I just think to the individual who commented on my video, who apparently lives in the UK, and said that UKAD handles suspensions for rugby players and whatnot, football, I guess. That's cool. But again, in a sport where this is boxing, it's a blood sport, I don't think that arrangement where just the individual himself and the promoter are notified. I think everybody involved that's gonna be in the ring, in the contest, needs to be involved. So I'm at the 17-minute mark. Probably I lost people like 16 minutes and 30 seconds ago. Real quick, speaking on Saturday night Showtime card, I thought the card was pretty bad, man, and I didn't have much faith in Gamboa going in and Martinez going into it. I saw the main event. Actually, I saw the co-main too. So some credit to Gamboa for doing what he needed to do. But if that's the next opponent for Gervonta Davis, who was victorious, I don't really want to see that. I understand where Paulie Malignaggi was coming from. We want to see more of Gervonta Davis. We want to see wrinkles of his game. We want to see we want to see if he really is the goods, if he really is the one. And this decision right here by Harvey Dock to step in and stop it when he stopped it in the second round, I think it was a solid stop, especially with the death of Maxime Dadashev happening in Maryland. The kid, it was those two vicious shots with your head popping straight up, eyes rolling back. When he came back over to the left, or when he came over to his left, to the right of Gervonta, I don't think Harvey Dock had a good line of sight to see what his condition was right there when he stepped in. But the thing was, when he did step in, what's my man? Nunez still fell into him. He still kind of fell defensively into to Harvey Dock, and it is a good call. But like I said, I think for most of us, like Paulie Malignaggi, Paulie Malignaggi thought Nunez could do some things, but he had taken that two big left hooks. Gotta protect yourself at all times. and you gotta, when you get hurt, you gotta respond immediately after, or you leave that possibility in there for someone to step in. Great event for him. Nice turnout. Explosive ending. I just feel like, though, just deliver the kid to us. Like, make a big fight. Tevin Farmer, to me, I'm not. I don't know if that's a good fight. I mean, it's a solid matchup, but I don't know if Farmer's offense is enough to keep Tank off of him. There was something else I was gonna mention, but let me get ready to get on out of here. Again, it's not really trying to be pro Eddie Hearn. It's not trying to let UKAD off the hook. It's not to sweep this situation under the rug with Dillian White. It's not being a fan of the zone. It's none of that. I think we do have to take into consideration what the rules are on the books. And I said my question was the Rivas camp contacted? We know that they weren't. Although I saw one tweet out there that they did receive a phone call that the fight could be stopped, possibly. The fight could be off. And that was Eddie Hearn's reasoning was, well, why do I want to tell this guy something? And, it turns out to be nothing. And now I've messed with his readiness. Or I've messed with his psyche. I've caused there to be concern when there really wasn't concern. But again, I think if all of the information comes out with it, then you can have the right understanding and you can process what's being told to you, and it doesn't really disrupt anything. And like I said, the tests, whatever the tests caught, they caught. And then whatever the explanation was given at the hearing, if it was acceptable for the board, then it could be communicated to everybody, to all of the pertinent parties, and we can move forward. So, like I said, I know for me to go a little soft on, or to be understanding of Eddie's position, could be a turnoff to some, or reason for outrage for some. But like I said, we gotta understand the home country of where this happened, how their processes are set up, and start from there. I mean, like I said, there's still things, if you want to dispute, if we still want to call, like I said, for there to be notification of the other team in a sport like boxing. Maybe if it's two rugby clubs getting ready to play, yeah, we don't need to contact the owner of the other club, or we don't need to contact the coach of the other club. But in this situation, when it's combat sports, that's a different scenario. So like I said, man, let me get on out of here. Bite down boxing. Don't ever let them count you out.